Some pretty incredible news just coming out as we've received word that the Treasury has now released a memo warning federal agencies to brace themselves for what is to come, as we could be looking at a first ever U.S. default. And as I mentioned, this will not only impact Social Security, SSI, disability, veterans benefits, but this is going to be felt all over not only our nation, but the entire world will feel the ripple effects if we default and they do not come to an agreement. Take a look at the headlines rolling out. As funds run short, Treasury asks agencies if payments can be made later. Senior Biden aides are rummaging through the nation's books, looking for ways to conserve cash while Washington battles over the debt ceiling. And like I said, this will be felt all over the world. What would a U.S. debt default mean for the world? Well, failing to raise the debt ceiling could have global economic repercussions. There will be a ripple effect felt by what takes place. And I let you know earlier today, stick around to the end for another update, as what we're hearing is there's also the 3-day rule that will be in place. They are not backing down from that, which means that when they come to an agreement, even if it's at the final 11th hour, they're still going to have an additional 72 hours for all members of Congress to review the bill in full, so that way they can ensure that a good bill is passing through and they're not rushing it, pushing it through at the last minute. I've got video footage updates for you on that as well. But you guys, let's take a look at what just came out on this. As they're saying, these memos are now being released, warning them of what could potentially be coming here, and to brace themselves and to start making preparations, as we might have to pick and choose which bills get paid and which do not. Now, let's go ahead and dive right in. And if you appreciate the breaking news updates, do me a quick favor, smash the like button. Just takes a second. Thank you so much. And if you want to stay up to date, it's totally free. Why not? All you got to do is hit the subscribe button, turn on the notification bell. I'll let you know everything as it rolls out. But with that being said, you guys, let's take a look at this. And we have only got less than 10 days before we could be looking at a potential default. All right, so a link in the description below to this article literally came out an hour ago from the time of this recording that says, as funds run short, the Treasury asks agencies if payments can be made later. Now, the article says that the Treasury Department has asked federal agencies whether they can make upcoming payments at a later date. Two people familiar with the matters have said, as senior Biden officials, they search for fresh ways to conserve cash and prevent the U.S. government from facing an unprecedented default. Now, with the deadline looming in less than 2 weeks, the White House is looking for ways to buy more time for President Biden and House Speaker Kevin McCarthy to cut a deal to raise the federal debt ceiling, which sets a legal limit on government borrowing. Now, without additional borrowing, a fresh burst of tax revenue, or new ways to slow spending, the federal government expects to miss a payment for the first time in modern history in early June. And I shared with you exactly what we heard from White House Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen. She said that she doubts that we can make it past June 15th. If we don't have a deal by June 1st, we will not likely make it an additional 2 weeks. Now, the article says to put off the so-called X state when reserves run dry, Treasury officials have asked their counterparts at federal agencies about the flexibility of payments due before early June. Now, Treasury has not asked federal agencies to postpone payments beyond their due dates, the person said. Now, listen to this. The planning has become increasingly urgent in recent days. Last week, senior Treasury staff sent out a memo to federal agencies instructing them to take additional steps to keep the Treasury Department closely apprised of their spending. So they sent out a memo letting them know it is time to start preparing and maybe start panicking, because we are getting close to the deadline. In the memo, which was obtained by the Washington Post and has not been previously reported, so this is breaking news just starting to roll out on this memo that was released, the Fiscal Assistant Secretary for the Treasury ordered agency officials to notify Treasury at least 2 days in advance of all deposits and disbursements. Keep an eye on everything, they're saying, because we're not sure how much money we have left to pay the bills. Between $50 million and $500 million. Payments above $500 million require a 5-day notice, the memo has said, so they are tracking everything at this time. Please stress to your staff the importance of these updates during this time and to ensure that your agency's reports are accurate, the memo said. Your reporting offices should be reconciling report amounts to actual payment activity to ensure the reliability of these reports during this critical period. Negotiations to find a broad agreement to raise the debt ceiling continued for several hours between representatives of Biden and McCarthy on Tuesday today, but little new progress appeared to have been made after Monday night's meeting between the two leaders, who remain divided over how much the federal government should spend next year and other issues. Walking into the Capitol on Tuesday morning, McCarthy said that the two sides remain far apart. So we've got less than 10 days, plus we've got the 3-day rule, and they're saying they still remain far apart. Asked whether he was close to a deal, McCarthy responded, no, though he said it is still possible to get an agreement completed before June 1st. White House spokesperson Karine Jean-Pierre, meanwhile, told reporters that the talks have been productive, adding, we believe there is a space and an opportunity here to have a bipartisan, reasonable budget agreement. The Bipartisan Policy Center, a D.C.-based think tank whose debt ceiling estimates are closely watched, reported Tuesday that it expected the U.S. government to run out of money between June 2nd and June 13th. They're starting to laser in on the specific time of when this is likely going to happen if the limit is not raised. Major stock index closed slightly down on Tuesday today as traders looked ahead to the prospect of a potential default. Spokespeople for the White House declined to comment on any attempts to conserve funds ahead of the deadline. A spokesperson for Treasury said to produce an accurate forecast around the debt limit, it's critical that Treasury have updated information on the magnitude and the timing of agency payments. As in prior debt limit episodes, Treasury will continue to regularly communicate with all aspects of federal government on their planned expenditures. Determining the precise amount of money available to make federal payments has become especially critical as some Biden aides look for ways to buy more time for high-stakes debt ceiling negotiations occurring between the White House on Capitol Hill. Now, in addition to that, I've let you guys know that there are also conflicting laws. We are not sure what's going to happen. There are laws that state that Social Security and those benefits, they are insured and that they should go out. But we also have other laws that state there is not to be any spending if there is no funds. So we've got conflicting laws, and I shared with you in detail in previous videos what they're saying will likely happen and the timelines specifically for Social Security. Now, in a letter on Monday to lawmakers, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen affirmed that Congress may have only until June 1st before the federal government exhausts its supply of cash, though she again predicted that the Treasury may be able to hold out until early June. Some Wall Street forecasters have said that the true X date, the day when the government finally misses a payment, is likely going to be June 8th or June 9th. Now, with a big influx of quarterly tax payments expected to arrive in the Treasury's coffers on June 15th, administration officials are looking for ways to hoard cash and eke out a few more days. If they can make it to June 15th, the surge in revenue might give Treasury enough funding to push the X date into July, when a fresh round of accounting measures would become available, perhaps allowing them to push the prospect of default even further into the future. It's possible they have some tricks up their sleeves to get to June 15th, said Mark Godwin, Senior Vice President of the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget, a Washington-based think tank. And if they get to June 15th, they can go a lot longer. So the question is, from June 1st to June 15th, can we make it? Administration officials are not banking on this strategy, though, and Yellen has said, admittedly, that the only way to avoid calamity is if Congress can raise the debt ceiling before June. So she is saying we're not likely going to make it that far, and I shared that with you in a previous video. Independent budget experts have stressed that no good legal options exist for significantly extending the amount of cash the Treasury has on hand. And there's been a lot of people that have been calling for that 14th Amendment to be invoked by the president, but they're also saying that that is not lawful and it could be an issue and probably won't get the job done. So there you have it, you guys. We have about 8-9 days left for them to try to figure this out. And then also keep in mind the fact that there's the 3-day rule as well. So 8 or 9, let's go ahead and drop it down to about 5 or 6. They've got to get it done within the next 5 or 6 days to ensure that we have something ready by June 1st that could be passed into law. And they're saying, if not, right now at this current time, the Treasury is sending out memos warning federal agencies to prepare and to brace themselves for what could potentially unfold here. And again, if you want to get more information about how this could potentially impact Social Security and the calendar payment schedules, and also if you want to know a little bit more about the 3 3-day rule that we just heard from Kevin McCarthy. Check out my previous videos on the channel. I'll put them on the screen right now. You can pick which one you want to do. And also, you guys, I will keep you up to date every step of the way. But with that being said, thank you so much for joining me. I'll keep you up to date on everything, and I'll catch you in the next video. Take care. God bless. This is Steve.